The next thing we need to talk about is knee bend. It's the most important thing before we do any technique out here on the ice. It works like this. Coaches have said and players have heard, bend your knees, bend your knees. So we could think that if we got into a deep knee bend like this, where the butt is sitting back, even though I'm bending a lot, I've got a good knee bend, but I really don't. My knee is back here, and I'm sitting back. So saying bend the knees doesn't equate right to the player. What we need to say is flex the ankle. If I flex the ankle, that puts the leg forward, puts the weight forward on the skate, and the knee will actually be bent out in front of the skate. If you flex your ankle, you will bend your knee. And if you bend your knee, you may not flex the ankle far enough for skating for ice hockey. It also translates like this in speed. If I bend my knee, but I don't bend it enough, and I take a push off, I end up pushing off out here this far. And if I bend my knees, well, now I can push off way out here twice as far. It's the most important thing when we talk about speed and technique, knee bend. Our first technique on this inside-outside edge DVD is to do heel pushes, 2-foot heel pushes. Here, we're going to use that strong knee bend. We're going to point our toes out to the side, heels together, and we're going to come around and snap with the heels, strong and deliberate. Snap. I need to make a comment here right away on this first heel push technique, because a lot of players do this properly. They do bend their knees, okay, but they push and come up. They push and they come up and they bob up and down. And we don't want players to bob up and down. We want players to stay the same level. We want them to start off with that low knee bend, stay this level, and push forward, push forward. So we're going down the ice this time. We're trying to maintain that same level down, and we're going to snap our ankles quickly this time. Instead of strong and deliberate, we're going real fast. Would look like this. Our next exercise is to do a 2-foot heel push on the outside edge. And it would look like this. We're now going to use this 2-foot heel push in what we call a shuffle stride. And the way we teach this to players first is to ask them to wiggle down the ice. So we're in this 2-foot position, and they just take off wiggling, pushing with the heel of the skate. This shuffle stride that we're teaching is referred to as 2-foot skating. It's very interesting to note when we look at the studies on the NHL players, players spend most of their time in 2-foot skating, yet we never practice that way. 40% of the time NHL players spend on the ice in 2 feet. 2 feet to skate, to peruse down the ice, to react to the play, to accelerate, to battle in the corner. They only spend 16% of the time in a long stride position, yet that's how we see coaches always practicing and practice. So we're working on this shuffle stride, heel push, and this time we're going down the ice, we're going to make strong and deliberate cuts with the heel. It looks like this. Now we're going to take a look at this shuffle stride heel push while moving down the ice quickly. And it's as if the player is lifting the toe of the skate off the ice. You're making a smaller push. It's not so strong and deliberate. It's going to be real fast. It's going to look like this. Just showing another stride pattern that we can do. Instead of keeping the legs wide like we saw in the last time, now we'll have a full recovery all the way back underneath our body. Looks like this. In this next chapter, we're going to take a more detailed look at this heel push. It's commonly been referred to in the past as a C cut, but the skate does not leave the impression of a C in the ice. So for hockey skating, we're going to refer to this as a heel push. That's what it is. What we do to execute this movement is we end up pointing the toe out to the side, we push off with the heel and come around and back together. And we load up the leg again for another heel push. Our next exercise then is to push with just one leg and move down the ice in a straight line. And we'd look like this. This next exercise, we're going down the ice in a straight line again. We're going to alternate pushes, and we're going to coast with our feet together in the middle, in between. We'll look like this. We've been working the inside edge through a series of heel pushes on a support leg. We're now going to do that on just one skate. So we're going to make a full circle on the inside edge and go all the way around forwards before we put the foot down. It would look like this. This next exercise that we're going to do is probably the most important skating exercise on this forward, inside and outside edge progression. It's the inside edge half circle drill. This is an exercise that should be done in warm-ups at every practice. It will increase the player's lateral movement and will also correct the technique for the long stride. It looks like this. Now we're walking down the ice with this crossover step. The key is to point the toe of the skate in. To point the toe of the skate in and step over every step. Nice and easy. We're simply walking down the ice, toe in. The next step is to do this crossover exercise without the toe rope. This requires a little more balance. Would look like this. Step over, hold it. Step over, hold it, and if you can, players should be able to hold this for a while, even squat up and down, holding that position. Cross over, hold it. Now I'm going to show you something that's never been seen before in crossovers. I'm looking at the line ice markings to show that a crossover really should be 2 plyometric jumps. You can see from the line ice markings that I skated in here on this line, and I took one powerful push forward, which was a jump to the left skate. That's 1 plyometric jump. I skated forward on the left skate and took 1 crossover powerful jump over my foot. And I'm drawing these markings for you here because I'm going to show you in a minute the wrong step in a second. Then I continued after that crossover push on the inside edge of my right foot, and again another plyometric jump pushing my body forward as I jumped out. Should have been bigger, okay, but it wasn't. And then another crossover push where I pushed underneath and another jump pushing forward. And again from that outside edge I then again jumped to another inside edge and another plyometric jump. I was on the outside edge and I again jumped forward. And so you see the space going forward. Now I'm going to change the way that we've understood crossovers for 50 years. Because what we should see is 2 plyometric jumping exercise. We should have 2 powerful thrusts, and we don't. And we can tell this by the line ice markings in the ice. So now we've seen 2 different skating patterns, and I'm going to show you how this works. This line, both these red lines represent the first push I make. I'm on the inside edge of the outside foot. I take a powerful thrust forward. That's the jumping action, the first one. And that should always be forward. It's easy because our feet are spread wide, and we see that on both. It's the second one where we go backwards. So after that powerful thrusting action, I'm on the outside edge. I get up here on the second foot and another powerful jump, and I jump from one edge to the other, thrusting myself forward. But on the second traditional type of crossover that most people do, I went around this way and I showed how the outside edge stays on the ice, the crossover comes and the foot is put down behind the other foot. There is no powerful thrust and we have a backwards movement, loss of power. The line ice markings do not lie. So following this second push out, let's see, we're like this on the outside edge. So we're coming here on the inside now, and again we see that big forward jump, and that should be that way. And we'll see that forward leap on both of these, although there's less on the second way. And now we are coasting on the outside edge. And while we're on the outside edge, again, with the jump, you see that forward thrust and you leap forward. So there it is. And on the outside edge of the other foot, you see the crossover and go back. And you see how much slower we are because there's much more gliding. And then we go to the next stride where here we have that powerful jump